spread across the region. In North Derbyshire, traffic on the M1 was restricted to 20 miles an hour, but police said some drivers were behaving like idiots and driving far too fast. One lorry driver was taken to hospital after 3 lorries were involved in a collision in fog near Chesterfield. There were accidents from the former Carlton Cycles plant at Worksop into an indoor leisure park and industrial units. The factory, closed by rally 9 months ago, failed to attract a buyer at the asking price of £275,000. But the company now say they'll sell to the council at £160,000. And the council say it's a rare opportunity to turn a community catastrophe into a success story.
The Lord Mayor of Sheffield, Councillor Enid Hattersley, today cut the first turf to mark the start of building a sports hall at the Lodgemore Hospital Spinal Unit. It will provide facilities for paraplegic games including basketball, badminton, table tennis, fencing and archery, and enable patients to be trained to international standards.
But for residents in the Hyde Park and Park Hill flats in Sheffield, the problem is a lack of heating. The pipe carrying water to heat the 2,500 flats has burst, and families have been left without heating or hot water. Engineers are busy trying to put matters right, and it's hoped the heating will be back on tonight.
Has won an award for a scheme transforming it from a shaft mine to a drift mine. Treaton Colliery has received the award from the Business and Industry Panel for the Environment. The panel was impressed by the way in which the scheme had improved the pit's efficiency and given it a cleaner appearance. The conversion to a drift mine cost £20 million and took 5 years to complete. Mexborough Power Station in
Partners in Sheffield. Just lie back and dream you're in the West Indies. Bye night.
Meeting held at Sheffield's Royal Victoria Hotel. They represented COSI membership in the Trent Regional Health Authority and heard an address from COSI's Assistant General Secretary David Williams. The union's pay claim has still to be finally approved, but it's expected to be around 12%, well up on the 6% awarded last year. Despite press reports, COSI say they've as yet received no formal offer from the government. Whilst in opposition, Mrs Thatcher has expressed sympathy for the health workers' case. So do they expect a smooth ride this time round?
No, she's still...
Arts Council to an artist in Sheffield. Charles Chapman has been given the grant to be the artist in residence at Sheffield's Mapping Gallery. And among his projects is a sculpture in cardboard of a mechanical digger. Previous cardboard sculptures have included a tractor, a Land Rover and a telephone box. Councillor Danny George says the scheme is a scandalous waste of public money and has written to the Arts Minister demanding an inquiry. But the director of Sheffield Galleries, Mr Frank Constantine, says Mr Chapman's work is very popular and original. They had no worries about the scheme.
The rather special interest is Rotherham-born soccer coach Kevin Fallon. Kevin is coach to the New Zealand national team, who qualified for the finals after winning a playoff with China. Well, all this has meant that Kevin's father, Peter, will have to pay more than £2,000 to keep a promise that he made to his son and the rest of the family. A few months ago, Peter told Kevin that if he helped New Zealand to the World Cup finals, he'd pay for the family to go and watch. Well, now Peter, although surprised that New Zealand qualified, admits that he must put his money where his mouth is. To ensure this, son Kevin made a flying visit to Rotherham earlier this week to remind his dad of that promise. And elements that made Tuesday, January the 26th, the day to remember for Sheffield's Public Works Department. 3,000 staff stood poised on the brink of an all-out strike, and all over a lorry load of scrap wood. Well, there were walkouts and pickets at several depots in the city, and the main office in Manor Lane was closed as talks went on to resolve the dispute. Eventually, a solution was found, but it really is a tale worth telling in just a little more detail. It all began when Councillor George Burrows, Deputy Chairman of the Works Committee, asked one of the department's lorry drivers to do a favour. It was to take a load of scrap wood, destined for some rubbish heap, to a factory picket line instead. The driver, Mr Keith Beale, a man with 20 years' service to the council, duly delivered the wood. The pickets outside the Jewel Razor Company's Penistone Road works were grateful for the gesture. Here they are, chopping up some of the gift for their brazier today. The wood certainly brought some welcome warmth to the Penistone Road pickets, but in a very short space of time, the heat was really on back at the Public Works Department. Mr Beale, it was adjudged, had transgressed department regulations, so last Friday he was suspended on half pay. His colleagues, members of the Transport and General Workers Union, were incensed. Mr. Beale, they argued, had merely been going along with a request from a senior councillor. They fully expected all action against him to be dropped once the facts were known. But yesterday, Mr. Beale was given a written warning. That's just one step from the sack, and union officials prepared to fight it out with the council. This morning, pickets were on duty outside the depots. Cleaning vehicles and gritters stayed in their compounds, and with a return to cold weather forecast, this was not the time for a strike in Sheffield's Public Works Department. Meetings between the two sides